Okay, guys, I think we are live. So let's get started.
I think we are live.
Okay.
So let's get started.
Okay, cool. If you guys are joining in for this stream, please can you like and share the stream with like the stream, and please share it on Telegram or WhatsApp or wherever you are part of any particular group, so that more students can join in. So please let your friends also know about this stream. So thank you guys. I see that quite a few of you are already online. We'll wait for a few minutes for more of you to join. So in this particular video, what I'm gonna try to do is that I have put up already one video about how to start off. So basically this video is basically about tell me about yourself, which is like the intro video. So when you sit down for your interview and you have to basically introduce yourself, how you should go about doing that. I already have a video on that in the GDPI playlist as such on YouTube. But apart from that, I just wanted to take actual live examples in this particular stream. So if you guys are, if I'm audible, everything is fine, just let me know if you guys are ready, and we'll try to make the, we'll try to get started soon. So just let me know if everything is fine, if you guys are ready. Okay, cool. Please also like and share the stream. I see for 59 people have joined in. Please like this stream and share the stream so that more students can join in. And please also, in case you are preparing for VAT and for PI, for this particular video as such, also try to think about what your intro is going to be. So once you have something in your mind, then it becomes easier for you to understand, okay, I should do this, I shouldn't do this as such. So if you guys have yet to like the stream, please like the stream, and then we'll get started. Okay, so I think it's 5:04. Let's get started. So before I give you some example TMAY, like the examples of tell me about yourself. Essentially in this particular stream, what I asked was, I asked some of the students who actually watch our stream to write into us with their tell me about yourself intros. There were some good ones, there were some very raw ones that could actually become very good tell me about yourselves. So in this I'll be basically looking at that, and I'll be advising on how they can actually improve as such. I've taken different kinds of profiles so that if you have something which is similar, then you can use that same feedback to also edit your tell me about yourself. So what is tell me about yourself? So basically just think of it in this way, that once you enter the interview room, they ask you to take a seat. They'll be like, hi, can you tell me a bit about yourself, so that you get started and you introduce yourself. Then the interview starts from that point of time. Now, given the fact that that is the start of the interview, it is extremely crucial because it sets the tone of the interview. If you don't do well in this particular the initial impression is not good. So because of that, it is extremely important, and this is one of the first things that we essentially ask students to prepare and do well, because if you do this well, then you know exactly what to prepare also for the interview. So what exactly is tell me about yourself? This is something that where you have to speak for 2 minutes and give a brief introduction about yourself. So 2 minutes would be roughly around 100 to 150 words depending on how fast you speak. And here you have to tell about your name, your academic background, where you come from, what exactly are your interests. You basically just give a brief introduction of who you are as a person. Now, essentially, why is this so important? See, essentially, the issue with interviews is your interview is not entirely in your hand. Your interview also depends on the person interviewing or the faculty interviewing. Now, because this is such a high stakes thing for you, it makes sense for you to be prepared in such a way that you try to direct the interview in some way as possible. So you try to nudge it along a good path for you as much as possible. It's not entirely in your hand, but you can at least try to direct it to a certain extent. So this is where the tell me about yourself comes in. The way you introduce yourself can also act as a way of guiding the interview. Now, the best interview that you can possibly have is one in which you entirely direct the flow of the interview. So from the start to finish, you are in entire control of the conversation. You tell exactly what topics, or you point the conversation towards a particular topic. Now, if hi guys, let me know if I am live again. Just let me know if you guys can see me again, and then we'll proceed. Yeah, I think we are live back. Sorry guys for the disconnection. We are having some electricity issues where they are disconnecting and reconnecting us. Sorry about that. We'll be back. If just like bear with us while this goes on. This is something that I can't really control. Okay. So as I was saying that if you are able to direct the entire course of the interview, it would be very, very good. But even if you're not able to direct the entire course of the interview, if you set some kind of parameters or some kind of outline, then you might be able to direct at least like say 50 or 60% of the interview, and which would be two huge advantages as such. So the point of your tell me about yourself is that you write down. Essentially, what I ask students to do is write down 100 to 150 words about how they are going to introduce themselves. I ask people to write it down because you have to be very, very fluent with this. So you write it down and you practice it 4-5 times so that it comes naturally and smoothly. You shouldn't mug it up, you shouldn't by heart it, but you should be very, very fluent with it. So essentially, it should be like something that you know from the back of your hand. So if you're preparing, you're starting to prepare, first thing that you should do is write down 100 to 150 words, tell me about yourself. It should last around 2 minutes. And in this, what do you write? Essentially, write about your what your name is and where you're from. So your name, and say that I'm from Hyderabad or I'm from Delhi, name and place. One thing I always mention is the academic background. So academic background, and apart from academic background, also your work background as such. So where you're working as such. The third thing that you should mention are your interests and hobbies. And if you have something which is distinctive about you, or if it is something that is very interesting about you, then you can mention that also, any point of interest. Now, not everybody has something which is distinguishing or interesting, but even if that is not, if it is there, definitely mention it. If it's not there, then it's no issue. You can make your tell me about yourself from the first 3 things. So what exactly is this doing? This is telling the interviewer kind of what they can ask you about. You can say that, okay, the interviewer already has my CV in front of them. I have filled a form. They can see that and ask me based on that. But essentially, you will not be the only interviewee for that interviewer. They'll be essentially seeing somewhere about like say 50 to 100 students, and for them it is quite tedious. So an easy way to get to know a person is to ask them about themselves. So most often than not, you will be asked to tell about yourself. So always keep this prepared, and always have this practice it again and again till you get a smooth flow as such. Okay. And the thing is that you won't get a good tell me about yourself in the first go. You will get it like you should write it down, refine it, keep refining it, and then practice it and keep refining it till you get a smooth flowing tell me about yourself that lasts 2 minutes. A lot of people struggle with this because see, I know a lot of students feel that okay, there are many people who have done much more than me. I feel as if I'm not adequate enough for the interview, or I don't really have any achievements or anything which is special about me. Or many students even feel that should I really be talking about myself? This is unnatural to me. So just because this is one of the things that I see a lot in students, where they undersell themselves, where they feel underconfident about who they are. See, this is not you being boastful. So if you have something, if you've done something really, really special or really, really cool, it's you should talk about it. It's not boasting. It's you have to tell the interviewer who you are, and it is not boasting. If you have done something really nice, you can obviously say it. A lot of students undersell themselves, are underconfident. So one of the first things that I'll actually say while you're preparing your 150 word tell me about yourself is try to be fair to yourself. Don't undersell yourself. Try to be as positive in your what you write as much as possible. I'm sure that there are positives about every student who is going for the interview. Your job is to present yourself in the best light possible. You don't have to present yourself in like the balanced light or fair light. You have to present yourself in the best light possible. So don't undersell yourself. Don't feel that oh no, I don't want to like boast about myself or anything of that sort. Tell exactly all that you have done and the best of what you have done. This is essentially an introduction to the best version of you. Okay, so don't feel embarrassed to write that. Don't feel like underconfident to write that. Okay, and this is the basic flow. And I'll give you a basic idea of do's and don'ts as far as what you can actually say and what you shouldn't say as such. Just remember that this is going to be an introduction to yourself in front of a professional setting, in a professional setting. So if there is something which is individualistic about you, but that is not really professionally appropriate or relevant, you should not talk about it. So for example, if you are at times you might be what you watch on Instagram or what you watch on YouTube or any of that stuff, while it might be specific to you individually, it is not professionally relevant. On the other hand, if you have a huge interest in a certain kind of movies, to the extent that you have cultivated that interest, you are like knowledgeable of about a particular art form, then it is okay and relevant to actually talk about it. But if it is just a interest that you like watch things on a phone or watch things on a mobile, it's not really a cultivated interest as such, then it's not something which is relevant to a tell me about yourself, even if it's something which is a huge part of your life. Always try to keep it interesting. So avoid falling into this. I see that a lot of students try to just repeat things of their CV. So you should definitely put things which are relevant, like for example, what you did, where you're working, all of that should come from your CV. You should repeat it because believe it or not, a lot of interviewers might not actually read everything on your CV. They might decide whether or not they want to read your CV based on how you're speaking. So it is always relevant to actually introduce your name and your academic background and your work background briefly. But don't bore with every single thing or every single detail that is there on the CV. So don't say that I won awards X, Y and Z and I hold positions A, B and C. This is also about you as a person. So you have to be slightly interesting and say that okay, I'm interested in these activities, I'm interested in these hobbies, I collect them as a passion. So you have to also try to make it interesting. The point of your tell me about yourself should be what you pick and what you don't pick is you have to basically see that does this make you seem like a good fit for an MBA. So for example, if you are somebody who has a lot of entrepreneurial ability or has started a lot of businesses and essentially somebody who is very active in that, I would definitely put it in tell me about yourself. But if it is something where you have you were known as the class clown or you are caught most often putting proxies or something which is negative like that, I would not put that in my tell me about yourself because it does not show you in the best light as such. So you should also think that does this make me look like a good fit for MBA? Also something that you should go lightly upon is something which shows an interest in a field which is not MBA. So for example, a lot of students are very technically inclined. And if you say that, okay, I'm like heavily into engineering, I'm heavily into research and I'm like, I've written a lot of papers. If your entire tell me about yourself is about that, the interviewer would be like, okay, then why are you here? Why do you want to do an MBA? You should be doing research. You should be in engineering. You should be in a core job or in the core field as such. If your interest is so much in that particular space, then you should be there. So you should also think that does this make me look as if I'm a good fit for MBA or not before you think of what should be there and what should not be there. Now the last thing that you have to do is whatever you write as your tell me about yourself, identify the proper nouns in it. So say there is a proper noun here that, okay, I live in Hyderabad, I did my engineering in computer science, I am from this state, I have an interest, I'm a reader, I like reading books of this particular genre, or you can say that I'm a swimmer, I enjoy playing football. So whatever are the proper nouns, identify them. Now these proper nouns are what I call as hooks. So hooks is basically what is going to help you guide the interview. So essentially what you can think of it is that when you speak about yourself, you're putting some 7-8 proper nouns at your interviewer. Now he has to bite at one of the hooks. So essentially he has to say that, oh, you like swimming, can you tell me about it? So essentially whatever you, a specific noun or any specific activity or anything specific that you tell about yourself, that is a hook that you're throwing at the interviewer, and if he bites, you should be ready to direct the interviewer based on that hook as such. So for example, if I say that I'm from Hyderabad, I was born and brought up in Maharashtra, and I did my engineering in computer science, I like reading and I am a sports fan, I like watching football, all of those words there, that is Hyderabad, Maharashtra, engineering, whatever the specific type of engineering you have done, reading and Arsenal are proper nouns that you can follow. Each of these is a hook. Now each of that basically means that the interviewer can ask you about each of these things, and you should be ready. Now if he does actually ask you about it, you should be like very happy, because now he has asked me about something that I'm very comfortable with. So essentially you identify these hooks and say that I want to force the interviewer to go down this path asking about this particular thing. So whenever you do something like that, you are essentially trying to control the flow of the interview. So whenever you write down the tell me about yourself, identify your hooks, research them completely. Just try to think of all kind of questions that can come from there. So for example, I remember in my interview, I said that I'm from Maharashtra. They asked me about they asked me who is the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, what is special about him, who is his father, and they also asked me about the crops that grow in Maharashtra, the fruit trees that grow in Maharashtra. So you should be very, very ready to go into like absolute detail of whatever hook you put there. So essentially remember that each of the words in that tell me about yourself is your attempt to navigate the interview. Now what you shouldn't definitely do in this particular this is what you should avoid doing is don't try to put information about others in this tell me about yourself. So for example, if you are working with somebody who is, say for example, you got to work with somebody who is a celebrity or somebody senior, then you don't write about how it was a great learning experience because this person was really smart or was very accomplished, because then your tell me about yourself is about somebody else. Similarly, a lot of students talk about their parents a lot. It's good to talk about your parents in one line, saying that they placed a lot of emphasis on our education, or I come from a army background and I had a lot of varied experiences. It's okay to mention them, but if you keep talking about your parents and siblings and your family, it is actually taking the attention away from you. So don't actually, your tell me about yourself should mostly be about you. One line reserved to your family, that is fine, but most of it should be about you. So don't make your tell me about yourself to about others. The second thing is, as I said, avoid anything which is inappropriate in a professional context. If you would not want something which is not something which you shouldn't discuss in a job interview, don't introduce in your tell me about yourself. Don't keep it too brief, don't make it too long. This is something which occurs where they are trying to take a stress interview. For example, what the interviewers might do is they'll ask you to tell me about yourself, and you'll be done with your speech for 2 minutes, and then they'll be silent. Now what happens is, for a lot of students, when they see that okay, the interviewers are still silent, my 2 minutes are up, I have given my prepared tell me about yourself, what should I do? And then the student starts rambling. Then he starts with like, okay, then I did in my engineering, I did this, at my workplace I'm doing this, and the rambling shows. Okay, people are uncomfortable with silence, and then they start saying things which are off script. If the interviewer is silent, if you're done, if you have put your brief introduction, just stay silent. It's fine. Be comfortable with silence. You need not fill every silence with speaking. This is a form of stress interview. Don't fall into that trap. If just give your basic intro of 2 minutes and then be silent. Wait for them to ask you a question. This is something that can happen to a lot of students. Don't just try to fill in the silence with rambling. Also, don't try, you have to put something which is individualistic in the tell me about yourself. Don't make it too general, saying basically if you say that, okay, I did my computer engineering, now I work at Infosys and I like reading. Now this is a okay, tell me about yourself, but it is so common. I will not, like the interviewer of the 50 people or the 100 people that he sees in that particular session, almost like 30 would have the same introduction as such. So if you have something which is so common, you have to try to distinguish yourself. So don't make it too general. Try to identify what is special or different about yourself and try to put it in the tell me about yourself. So try to distinguish yourself as much as possible. And also one thing that I see a lot of students do is they talk about tell me why MBA in their tell me about yourself. Don't go there unless the interviewer asks why you are doing an MBA. Just don't go there. Don't start with tell me about yourself and then segue into why you are doing an MBA or why you are there. It doesn't matter. Don't go there. Just tell about yourself, what you like, what your interests are. If you are interested in business, just mention that you are interested in business. Don't say, okay, I'm interested in business. I've taken part in business quizzes. That's why I want to do an MBA. Don't say. Just say that I'm very interested in business articles. I've participated and won in a lot of business quizzes. End of story. Don't go into the why MBA part, because essentially it is a why MBA is one of those questions which essentially take the control away from you. It removes the whatever work that you have put in into navigating the or handling or controlling the interview. So don't go there. Okay. So now that I have told you the do's and don'ts, I'll just basically give you a sample tell me about yourself. So just take a look at this tell me about yourself. I'll try to take a look at a few comments so that I can see that what feedback I can give. So just look at this and tell me what what do you think the hooks are as such. I see 135 people online. Can you guys please like this stream so that more students can see this? And okay, so Abhishek is asking that ma'am मैं English में अच्छा नहीं हूँ, average हूँ, क्या मैं MBA कर सकता हूँ? See, basically there are a lot of students who actually are from a vernacular background who go and do their MBA. They have to struggle a bit because of the fact that a lot of communication is in English. Firstly, because they have to go through the VARC part and CAT. Also, during the PI section of the interview, also they have to go through that. It is a hurdle, but it is not insurmountable. You have to practice, you have to work hard, and you can definitely conquer that hurdle. In fact, so many students have done that exactly, where they have come from a vernacular background, but they have absolutely excelled in their MBA course. So don't think that if your English is poor or if you are struggling in English that you can't do an MBA or you can't ace an interview. You definitely can. See, essentially you have to be interesting and of interest to the interviewer, and the interviewer is mature enough not to be like, okay, if he doesn't know English then I don't want to take his interview. Believe me, the guys who are interviewing you are one of the most open-minded people you will meet. So don't feel that they'll dismiss you out of hand. That won't happen. A lot of them are many of them are actually fairly sensitive to the inequality that exists and the fact that not everybody has the same educational opportunities. So don't feel that because you are not good with English that they will dismiss you as a serious aspirant. That won't happen. You have to actually present yourself in the best light given the conditions that are there. So don't take that to be a disqualifying factor as such. Manaswini asks, ma'am, I have many national level achievements which are rare, like kayaking nationals, etc. Should I speak about those? How to select the best ones to speak in introduction? So basically just find things that you are really passionate about. So if kayaking was a one-off thing, then don't put it in the tell me about yourself. But if adventure sports and in general, if it is something that you are very interested in, you can just basically say that I am really passionate about adventure sports. For example, I have won several national level, this in kayaking and etc etc. So I'll tell you basically how you should introduce any achievement as such. See, basically what you should do is you should give a general characteristic about yourself. So basically you can say that in this case, for example, I am an avid reader. And when you give a general characteristic about yourself, you add or supplement that with a concrete example. So you can say that I am an avid reader and I have read extensively from the mystery genre. For example, I have read all of XYZ authors. So you are giving concrete examples to support it. If you say that I am passionate about swimming and about exercising, and I have swam extensively and I have won medals at the local level or at the national level, then you are essentially giving a concrete example of a general characteristic. So the general way you word it is say that, okay, I have this general characteristic and here's a concrete example of it. If you can give 2 examples, it is a very strong point, because that essentially then stands out. So if you say that I am passionate about adventure sports and here I have done kayaking and here I have also done this X another thing, basically it will stick very strongly in the interviewer's mind. So that is how you should always frame. So for example, consider the sample, tell me about yourself. So in this case, believe it or not, even your name is a hook. I have been asked what is the meaning of the name Sayali, and when I told that it is the name of a flower, they asked me, okay, what is the color of the flower? Then I said, okay, it's white. Then they asked me, does it have fragrance? Now I had actually researched it because I had written it down and I had researched even about my name, so I knew that it had fragrance. The entire aspect of that was basically to figure out whether you can reason out the fact that if flowers have colors, they need not have fragrance, but if they don't have colors, they need to have fragrance at least to attract pollinators. So just a conversation that went like a random string that the interviewer wanted to go through. So every proper noun, everything that is kind of not a pronoun or preposition or anything, just highlight, and that is a hook. You have to research it from your name, from your place of birth, or whatever you put, you have to research it completely. So this would be a hook. This where you are born and brought up is a hook. Your course or whatever you have done your undergrad in is also a hook. Okay, sorry. So this is also a hook. Your university, where it is. So for example, if you have done your education in Delhi, but you are originally from say Chennai, you will have to know about Chennai as well as Delhi. So you have to research about both places. Now when I say research, what do I mean? You will have to figure out essentially for any particular place, you will have to figure out the political, geographic and historical aspect of it. So essentially, who are the ministers, main MLAs, leader of opposition for your particular state, who is your local MLA. Geographic would be basically what are the districts, what are the sources of water, anything which is specifically stands out on a geographic map. Historically, what were, they can even ask like, okay, who are the kingdoms there, Cholas, Chalukyas, whatever, they can ask anything from specific to that region. So you need to like go with all 3 perspectives about your particular region as such. Also take a look at the industries that are there in your state. For example, if you're from Kerala, know what fruits and crops grow in that. Know what industries are there. So you know that okay, there's a tire industry or there's a cement industry. For example, in one of my interviews, I said that I was from this place and they asked, okay, what exactly is manufactured there? And I did not know a single industry that was in my hometown, because it was essentially, I have lived my entire life in the residential part of the city. So I did not know what industries were there. And then the interviewer was like, okay, you are telling me you are interested in business. So if you are going there for a degree in business administration, you should actively know every single business of a certain size in and around the place you grew up in. So always research, okay, what are the businesses or industries in your hometown, in the places where you work or where you are living at currently. If you say, okay, this again becomes a, this also becomes, sorry. Okay. So even this, whatever you're working on becomes a hook. When you say consistently being a top performer in school and college, see if, instead of mentioning your scores or your grades, what you should generally say is that I have excelled academically or been a top performer. The person can see the CV and check for himself. But it is good to mention here because you're applying for an academic degree, and academic excellence is always appreciated. This is one of the things that will actually work the most in your favor. So if you have done well academically, definitely mention it. Don't be like, okay, it's already there in the CV. No, mention it. It is going to help you. So mention it. Don't give the actual grades. Just mention that I was a top performer or I was academically, I did excel academically. Now you come to the part where you have your interest. So when you say, okay, I've been a reader, then you can expect not just the books that you like to read, but any books that came out recently, any novels or any type of things that you from your particular genre. And if you say that, okay, I follow this particular football team, you have to not only know about that particular football team, but also about the league that they play in and other leagues that are there. So essentially just identify each of the hooks, then say that, okay, there are these 5 things that are there which are hooks in my tell me about yourself, and then write 2 pages for each hook. So then what I'll do is, after writing my tell me about yourself, I'll say that, okay, my name is this, the meaning of this name is this, this is the type of flower and this is the image of it. I look it up online just to know that, okay, I will be able to answer this particular question. Now for places, it will have to be like a proper 2-pager where you write down, okay, this is the location of it, these are the water bodies in it, this is what it is known as. All of that information, go through Wikipedia, go and dig as much as possible and write it down. If you are interested in a particular activity, know who are the medalists in it, what are the events in it. For example, if you're interested in chess, know the different competitions that are there, who is the chess champion, who was the previous chess champion, how many chess grandmasters are there from India, everything from a national perspective as well as an international perspective. You should always also have an Indian focus. So if you say that I'm interested in the Arsenal football team, they can parallelly ask you about the Indian football teams also. So they can ask you about which are the Indian football teams, what is going on in ISL. So you have to be prepared for a national kind of a perspective for your interest as well. Okay, so that is basically how you should research in, and that is how you prepare to control the interview as such. Okay, now I'll go on to the sample tell me about yourselves that we received. I'm sorry I was not able to put all of them in this particular but I tried to put as many as possible. And just remember that I'm just trying to help over here. I'm not trying to pick on any of the perceived weaknesses as such. I'm sure a lot of you are extremely capable and very, very talented. I'm just trying to don't take this personally. I'm not really trying to find faults or say that, okay, this is not important or not good enough. I'm just trying to say what is the best way you can actually represent yourself. So take a look at this particular tell me about yourself and tell me whether or not, if you heard this, what was the impression that was created in your head, and what could be done to improve it as such. I'll take a look at a few comments so that we can see that. Okay, Tanmay asks, I'm strongly involved in my family business. How to show it as my work experience? Tanmay, I see, basically you can definitely say that you worked in your family business and you can mention that as your work experience. You should be able to defend it. See, basically whenever you say that, okay, I work with my family business, expect a certain amount of skepticism from the interviewer. So you have to be prepared to defend it well. That is the only thing that you have to remember. If you say that you work at Infosys, they'll believe you because you have a work experience certificate. Infosys will not hire you if you do nothing, unless if you are on the bench. But essentially just remember that when you say that I have worked at my family business, they know a lot of students who have not really worked at their family business but just claim that they have worked at their family business because they have been sitting at home. So it should not appear that that is the case. So you should be doubly prepared about answering any question about your work. So it is basically, you can say that I work with my family business and have always been entrepreneurial in nature. I expanded my family business in XYZ ways. They gave me the responsibility of this new market, and I made major headway in that by adding revenue sources. So if you do something like this, where you try to show how you have excelled in it, and if you are able to defend yourself there is really no reason for you to be shy about the fact that you worked in your family business. What if I've never done anything significant, I'm no marketable interest? Again, I know, I can understand entirely what where you're coming from, where I always felt that I was very conventional as such, where I always just did my schooling very well. I just did my education very well. I read the books that were prescribed for my school. So I always had that that there is nothing really special about myself. But that's not the case ever. Every student has something which is very distinctive about themselves. You'll have to really think about what do you like to do on your own, without the encouragement of other people, or without anybody telling that okay, you have to do this. What do you actually like to do? There are many people who do things on their own which they don't realize. For example, there are many people who help out with like animals or pets, who feed the animals in their neighborhood. Now you might think that I don't have any work certificate for that, but if it is an interest of yours, if you're a passionate animal lover, you should definitely tell that about yourself. It's not something which you can say that is like a marketable interest, but it is about you and it shows you as a good person. So don't think of what is like a cool thing about you. Tell what you are and what is good about you. So don't think that okay, there's nothing marketable about me. I used to feel that a lot about myself, because I just felt that I did what was expected of me and nothing which was unconventional as such. But remember, everybody feels that way. They feel that okay, I've just done engineering because it was expected of me, or I've just done X because it was expected of me. But there will always be something which is individualistic about you. So let us come to this particular tell me about yourself. So just take a look at the following tell me about yourself. So the first thing I'll tell about this person is that, see, always this is something that happens to a lot of students when they are talking about themselves. They start with myself X or myself Sayali. This is a hangover from Hindi and vernacular languages, where you start with main Sayali or main Sayali hu. So because of that, it transliterates to myself Sayali. But that is not the right way to introduce yourself. You should always say I am Sayali, not myself Sayali. The reason for that is that it is grammatically incorrect to start the sentence with myself. Now it's because it is so common among Indians, it's not something that they might notice also, but even then it is a signal that your communication skills are not up to scratch. So always start off with I am X, not myself X. Okay, this is something which is commonly done, so this is something that you should definitely avoid. Now I am a software engineer. I worked with so essentially this name you have to research. What is the meaning of your name? What is the historical implication of your name? So for example, if you have a name such as Maruti, then okay, it might go into an entire mythological context also. You should also be prepared for that. See, anything which triggers their thought process, you have to go with that. So always think of it that whatever the hooks are there. So for example, this is my tell me about yourself, and I have put out 7 hooks, and each hook will be a tree. So this can lead them to this, this can lead them to this, this can lead them to this. So you have an entire tree structure that you have to research. So for each of these hooks, you have to completely like this can lead me to this, this can lead me to this, and you have to essentially write down all the connected or related terms that you have to research as such. So draw this tree for yourself. Okay, I have put in X hooks. Each of these hooks can be related in this way. So about this person, he's worked for a company. So again, you have to research about the company, who was the founder, what is the revenues of the company, what are the things that the company is in. For example, if your company say Wipro, okay, Wipro is in IT as well as it manufactures like soaps and so many things. You need to know about everything that it does. So don't say that okay, I'm not really related to the retail aspect of it. You should know because you have an interest in business. it is indefensible not to know about your own company if you pretend to have an interest in business. Okay, so know everything about your company, from who founded it, what are the areas or markets that it actually performs in, what is its competitive advantage, what is difference. For example, I used to work in an investment bank when I appeared for my IMA interview, and they asked me, okay, what is the difference between your investment bank and say for SBA, what is the difference? So I had to explain, okay, how an investment bank functions, what it does versus what a retail bank does. So you have to be prepared for everything of that sort. It is crucial that you look at this from a business aspect and know everything about the business aspect of your company. I've been working for the fintech area. Again, you have to know about everything about fintech. What are the startups in this area? What is new in this area? You should be able to even explain what is fintech. So you should. This is a hook. You have to research it. App developer, again a hook that you have to explore properly. And I'd like to explore finance sector more as I found that field quite interesting and fascinating. So the first thing is that one thing that I would say about this tell me about yourself is it's on the shorter side. And the reason why it's on the shorter side is that the person has missed out on their interests, what they like to do, what sports they like to do, what music they like to, what arts they like to follow, music, dance, whatever. So you have to put in some amount of hobbies as well. Also that one thing that I would suggest over here is that, sorry, one second. No. Okay, so one thing that I'll say about this is on the shorter side. Try to flesh it out more by adding your interests and some other things about yourself. Another thing that actually jumped at me with when it comes to this particular tell me about yourself was the fact that the person had mentioned an interest in the finance sector. Now this is something that I advise students against doing. See, I have done this PI process for as far like about 30-40 people in depth for till now, and of these 30-40 people, at least 20 people have told me that they want to do an MBA because they are interested in finance. I know where that comes from because I was one of the people who did that, where I was interested in finance because I saw that it was firstly like slightly quantitative in nature, so I was attracted to that, and also it pays very well, so I was also attracted to that. But don't put that in the tell me about yourself, and I'll give you the reasons for that. Okay, the first thing is that you don't know the panelists that are there for your particular interview. The panelists that are chosen for interviews can be from operations, can be from marketing, can be from strategy, can be from any area of the MBA as such. Especially if they are from marketing, they will not take kindly to the fact that you're doing an MBA only for finance. The reason for that is that a lot of marketing faculty, for example, feels that the students that come in and who want to do only finance, this is if you are appearing for a general management kind of this. If you are appearing for MBA finance, that is fine. If you're going for a specialized degree in MBA finance, that is fine. But if you're appearing for a general management this, or if you have not chosen your stream yet, don't profess your love for finance so early in the process, because it is something which is slightly is going to put you at a disadvantage as such. Because if the faculty is from any other field, such as for example from marketing, they are going to be offended and they are not going to take kindly to it. And secondly, if the other side is if that person is actually from finance, he is going to take your case. He is going to go in detail with finance, and then he is going to it's going to be a stress interview where it completely veers out of your control as such. In both cases, whether that person, the interviewer is from finance or not from finance, this statement is to your disadvantage. If you are really interested in finance, I would say do mention it, but also buffer it by saying that I'm interested in all aspects of business. For example, finance, marketing, and operations. I personally, I have been extremely interested in reading about, for example, the financial aspect. By I read about these books about financial assessment, or I read these books about like the financial crisis. Do that. That is fine. But you should always start off by saying that I am interested in all aspects of business, not just finance, because that is essentially ensuring you against being completely offending the interviewer as such. So that is the thing that I would suggest, that don't firstly I would say avoid professing your love for the finance sector so early in your this, and if you are doing it, if it is something that is genuinely your interest, do it by saying that okay, I'm interested in say a specific type of financial this, or say that I'm interested in all of management, and in finance I have read about this as such. Okay, so that is what I would suggest to this person. I'll give you the second tell me about yourself, and just let me know what okay, sorry, what we should what do you think are the things that you should do and not do in this particular tell me about yourself. I see there are 167 people over here. Can you guys please like the stream so that more students can see this? And if you guys have any particular queries, I'll try to answer them now. I won several startup competition, but then did not go ahead with it and took up a job in IT sector. Any ideas to justify it? So Kiki, you can always say that I'm very interested in the startup sector. I participated in many competitions and I won them. I keep reading about the startup sector. I am extremely involved in reading about it. So it can be an interest without something that you actually want to do immediately. That is completely fine. For example, I know many people who are very, very inclined towards a startup but want to do at a point when they are financially secure. So you can say that I wanted to have some real life experience of working in a company before I started up. I felt that I want to start up eventually, but I want to be prepared for my startup. So you can say that I want to be, I want to know the operations part of a startup before I join. That is in fact the mature thing to do. Jumping into a startup before you are prepared for it is not the mature thing to do. Again, a lot of students that actually go into an MBA have entrepreneurial ambitions. There's almost in every MBA institute, there'll be an entrepreneurs club. So having entrepreneurial ambitions, being interested in startups, but not having started up already is fine. You can always justify it by saying that I am waiting, I want to start up when I'm ready for it. That is fine with that. So need not be this about it. Jatin has asked, do we have a GDPI prep course? Jatin, I'm sorry, we don't have a GDPI prep course. I will be doing these streams. I will be covering as much as possible with these streams as such, and I won't really, there is not something that additional that we can really do in a online format. As much as we can do on an online format, I'll be doing through the streams. So that is basically what we are going to do through the streams. Taking in feedback and giving as much real-time feedback as possible, but we won't have a separate course for this. Okay, and will there be more streams? Yeah, there will be a lot more streams. This is the first stream. I will be doing at least 2 more or 3 more streams as such. What should I, Tanmay is asking, what should I show for my family business? If you don't have any document, just get a letter signed by the director of the company, which is your family, that is fine. Just do that. Even if they feel that okay, they have to take it with a grain of salt, let it be. But that is a valid work certificate as such. On the company letterhead that you're working for, your family business, they would have some letterhead or stamp, right? So get it on their letterhead, put a stamp on it. They might feel that you could have gotten this without working. That is fine. You have to defend yourself there. Okay. So let us take a look at this particular tell me about yourself. So the first thing that I will actually mention about this particular tell me about yourself is that they don't mention their name or anything about themselves. They start off by saying that I will tell you about things that are not on my CV. Now the thing with this is that you might think that this is distinguishing you or making you more memorable, but it actually also slightly, see, the interviewer wants what is easy for him, and what is easy for him is that you tell him your name and background rather than him reading from your CV. So don't presume that okay, you can read my CV, because it also comes across slightly as on the slightly on the arrogant side. So I would suggest that always repeat the basic at least information from your CV, that is your name, your academic background and your work background. It might be repetition, but it is definitely required. Don't start off immediately from off CV. start from the basic things that are there on your CV, because otherwise it sounds presumptuous as such. It might not seem that way to some interviewers, but to some interviewers it might be that way. So you don't want to risk offending anybody. So the safer alternative is always to start off with the basic information as such. My father is a businessman, so a basic line about their family life. I would suggest that this is also an opportunity to actually emphasize the why you mentioned that. So for example, one of the things that a lot of students can say is that my family from early on stressed a lot on education and made sure that we were, my father is a businessman and my mother is a homemaker, and they made sure that they made our education a priority. So these are subtle signals that you are sending that you are extremely academic minded, that you will take education seriously. Remember that when you are preparing for your MBA, the person who is interviewing you is a professor, and he is also looking for a good student, somebody who will listen, who will show up to class, and who will be prepared with their homework. So you have to also give subtle signals that you are a good student. So this is a good opportunity for you to push in that I'm a good student, saying that my father is a businessman, my mother is a homemaker, and my mother, both of my parents stressed the importance of education from a early age on me, and made sure that we got the best educational opportunities. Subtle way of pushing the fact that I take education very seriously. Okay, now my hobby is esports. Esports is a hook. You should be very good in answering any particular any particular question on esports as such. Okay, I play an esport game, CSGO. Again, you should know everything about CSGO, who plays it, whatever, what are the competitions for it, everything about that. As well as the same during my college, and so basically this person was a coordinator, and he also was a coordinator for a logical problem solving competition. So if you see that there are two concrete examples here of organizing. Now, if you write them as two separate incidents without tying them together, you are not making a proper point. The way you should actually do this is basically you should tell the general characteristic, saying that I have been always a very good organizer of events, and I organized a national level tournament of esports as well as a logical game solving this. Basically, essentially, if you say characteristic and then you give example, it sticks better than if you just give the examples or if you just give the characteristic as such. So always remember that you should say that, okay, I am a very good organizer of people and a team leader, and I have organized several events where I have been the team lead, and several successful tournaments as such. So try to make that overall point about who you are as a person rather than just giving the examples as such. Also, one thing that you should always try to do is try to give specific examples. So you said that you like logical problem solving, but instead of saying just I like logical problem solving, you should essentially, instead of doing that, you should say that, okay, what kind of problems do you like to solve? So you can say that I like to solve Sudoku or any other kind of logical problems as such, and then it becomes a hook for the interview to chase you on. So then you should then prepare saying that, okay, there is Sudoku, there is Kakuro, and there are other Japanese logical problems. There are logical problems from all over the world. There are, like, say, ciphers, and then there are other kinds of logical puzzles that you have to then go to the history of logical puzzles as such. But if you give a proper hook like Sudoku, it can stick. If you just say that I like solving logical puzzles, it's not a very good hook for you to catch the interviewer's attention as such. So if you give specific examples of the logical puzzle, it will work better than just saying that I like solving logical puzzles. Always try to connect the things that are there. So for here you had two different examples of organization. You should have connected them and said that, okay, I'm good at organization. So have a coherent flow to your tell me about yourself. So this is basically what I'd say. Here there's a lot of content and you won't get the time to say all of this. You have to condense it a bit into something which is under 2 minutes as such. So try to compress it by saying that I'm good at organizing events and I organized these 2 events successfully. I also like solving logical puzzles and playing esports. I solved Sudoku and I played the esports CSGO. So then you have a proper flow to your tell me about yourself. Okay, now let's take a look at the third tell me about yourself. So guys, take a look at that and tell me what you could actually do in something like that. In a case like this, what could you do to make it more flowing and what would be the hooks over here? I'll try to answer some questions in the meanwhile. Can multitasking be a characteristic? Manaswini is asking. Yes, it can be a characteristic, but then you'll have to support it with achievements. So what would be the achievements of multitasking? You will have to then support it. I am not really sure how you'd actually show that as an achievement as such, like a concrete example where you did very well while multitasking. If you're able to show that, definitely it's a characteristic. ABC, will someone from Big Four be preferred over me if I work in family business for 1 year instead of a job in MNC while preparing for CAT? See, Pallav, ultimately it's not just the brand name helps. I will not lie, it does help. Working for a big company, the brand name helps, but what also matters is the work you actually do there. So if you work for Google, but you work in just putting a button over here and over there, even if you're working for a very big brand name as such, if your work is fairly simple and clerical, it won't help. On the other hand, if you're doing exciting stuff in your family business, though your family business is not a big brand name, if the work is interesting in its own, then it would actually help more. So it's a combination of the brand name of the company and the work you're doing. If the work you're doing is very interesting, it is something which is business oriented, requires a lot of thinking, analytical skills, quantitative skills, is essentially showing that you can run a business on your own, then it is actually much more valuable than just a simple brand name. Okay, Kushal is asking, my father has a business and I'm the only son. What should I answer if the panelist asks, why MBA? Why are you not joining your family business? So you can then say that a family business has a lot of responsibility. You have a responsibility towards your parents to manage it well, and you are very cognizant of the weight of that responsibility that is there on your shoulders, and you want to do a absolutely good job of managing that family business. And you know that to do that, you need a very good foundation in management. So for that, you want to do an MBA. Again, why MBA is a separate thing, we'll come to that in the next stream. But in this case, just remember that you have to be able to justify the work you do. It's not about where you work, but you should be able to justify the work you are doing. Okay, Raju is saying that I want to be an edutech entrepreneur. Good for you, Raju. How can I connect it to MBA? I have 2-year work experience at Deloitte. So basically say that even irrespective of what entrepreneurial work you want to do, you can always say in general that before you start up, you want to have a good foundation in management. You want to have a good understanding of the various aspects of business. So what would be a good marketing strategy? How should you actually value risk at a company? How you should manage the finances of a company? What should you do to streamline the operations of the company? You need a proper view of all the aspects of the business, and before you start up, you want to learn all of that, and for that you want to do an MBA. Okay, so let's take a look at this particular tell me about yourself. So my name is X, again a hook. Make sure that you research about your name. Okay, I'm 22 years old, I'm born and brought up in this, another hook. I am currently residing in this, and again a hook. All of these 3 things you should be able to research in detail. Find out as many things you can about that particular thing. If it's a place, you need to expand it to the state and find out everything about that state. As much as like if it is something which is like say from the northeast, then you should also know about the culture of that particular space. So if you have anything which is like about your place, you should know in detail. I have a degree in BE in electronics engineering. One thing, you have to also research your look up and read up your engineering and undergrad this, so you have to start reading up now. So whatever you have done your undergrad in, even if it has been 2 years, even if it has been 3 years, you need to read up on the undergraduation that you did. So please start now. It takes a lot of time to actually revise all of that information, so start now. From Mumbai University, and I'm an introvert and socially awkward person by nature. Sometimes I come across as arrogant, and my hobbies include singing, playing guitar and cycling. Now I picked this particular tell me about yourself because I see this often with a lot of students where they try to undersell themselves, which I don't understand why. A lot of students have so many positive things. If this person sings well, plays guitar and cycles, he has 3 very concrete hobbies, but instead of putting the positives about him, he is talking instead about his negatives. So don't undersell yourself. The tell me about yourself has to be the best version of you. There's no need for you to proactively mention your weaknesses. So even if you are introverted, don't put it over here. There is no reason for you to talk about your weaknesses. Talk about the positives about you. Every student has something which is very good or positive about themselves. Talk about that. Don't undersell yourself. There is no reason for you to do that. And if you are suffering from, like, say, self-doubt or feeling that you don't want to talk about what is good about you, remember that this is going to set a positive tone for the entire interview. If you talk positive things about yourself, then you view yourself in a positive light, the interviewer will also view you in a positive light. If you view yourself in a negative light, the interviewer will think that also view you in the same light. So don't undersell yourself, don't view yourself in a negative light. Try to talk about what is positive about yourself, not what are your weaknesses. If they ask you what your weaknesses are, then you can give your weaknesses. But other than that, don't proactively mention your weaknesses ever. Everybody has weaknesses, but you should focus on what is good about you. Okay. Now let's take a look at the next one, which is tell me about yourself. So take a look at this one, and I'll just try to answer some questions till then. I'm from a technical background. How do I connect my background with MBA? Prince, don't worry. Almost everybody they see is from a technical background. It doesn't. You don't need to connect it to why MBA. You have to connect you as a person and your interest to why MBA, not the undergrad that you did in. So basically, even if you did your undergraduation in, say, mechanical engineering, if you read business articles, if you are interested in how companies are run, you as a person are interested in that. There can be multiple things people can be interested in. You can be interested in singing as well as dancing. You can be interested in arts as well as, say, accounting. It's not as if a person has to be interested in X only, right? So you can say that I'm genuinely interested in mechanical engineering or electrical engineering, but I'm also interested in business. I have been reading a lot about business and it fascinates me. So it's not as if that you have to connect your technical background some way to your MBA. You're interested in business, that's it. That's your interest. You have read about it. You want to learn about it. You need not connect it to your technical background. So let's take a look at this. Tell me about yourself. So tell me, what do you think about this one? So in this particular thing, what I'd say is that again, hooks, you understand. One thing that you have to note is that this person has mentioned their CGPA and marks in 10th and 12th. Now I mentioned that you should talk about your academic background, but you need not give the specifics. So your CGPA and your marks are there on your CV. So I'll just if there is any confusion, I'll tell that you were a good student, tell what you did or what you studied, but don't give the actual marks. So that is like unnecessary information. So essentially you should say that I did my graduation, I have always performed well academically, and I did my undergraduation in X. So when you say I was outstanding academically, they can then check your CV and see, okay, yeah, you got 10 CGPA, you got 88% in this. So then they can back that up with your actual CV. Don't mention the actual marks that you got. That's not necessary as such. Okay. I'm pursuing this. Again, you have to, because if you are in the final year, they'll expect a lot more technical knowledge than somebody who is 1 year passed out or 2 year passed out. So if you are in your final year of college, expect a lot of questions about the technical background. I am quite flexible and versatile and can adapt to challenging this. I have a strong presence of mind. See, it's good to actually, he is given 4 characteristics as such, okay. 1, 2, flexible, versatile, adaptive, strong presence of mind, persuasive nature. But the thing is that none of these tick, because essentially you should not just list out your characteristics, but you should give one characteristic and one example, another characteristic and an example. So essentially pick the best characteristics which you have the most concrete examples for, and then mention that instead of giving 6 characteristics, because none of those 6 will actually stick that well. So instead you should say that you are versatile and can adapt to changing and challenging situations easily. For example, after my graduation, I worked in a startup role where I had to do everything from operations to sales, and I rose to that challenge by gracefully doing all the work that was assigned to me. I was commended for my work twice at my workplace. So there you are giving a concrete example of how you are versatile. Not just mentioning you are versatile, but showing how you are versatile. So don't just mention the characteristic, give a concrete example. Again, this has to be on the shorter side, so keep it brief. So you say that I have always been adaptive in nature and versatile. For example, I adapted quickly to changing work situations at my work, where I did everything from sales to operations and was highly commended for my efforts. So that is a brief way of showing a characteristic of yours. Again, I would suggest that don't give all of these specifics. There you can briefly say that I am also very technically inclined, and I have taken several courses to bolster my technical knowledge and my analytical knowledge by in courses in financial analysis or machine learning. So then you mention that, and then machine learning and financial analysis become hooks which they can then further ask you about. So don't actually say that, okay, I did this course in machine learning or I did this course in financial analysis. Say that I'm interested in financial analysis in machine learning and I have done courses in that. Then they can ask you, okay, what courses did you do, and then you can mention further. Okay, so just give hooks. You don't need to go into detail of that. So this is what I would say. Just try to compress it slightly more and make it more flowing as such. This has too much detail. You can compress it a bit more by removing the specifics and giving more characteristics of you and your knowledge as such, not the actual coursework that you did. Let's take a look at the next tell me about yourself. I'll try to answer some of the questions. I want to make it to market research and consulting. Which stream should I prefer to prepare for? So market research and consulting would mean that you should do marketing MBA or general management. Both would be fine as such, would be good fits. Again, that also depends upon what your if you're really interested in that, then you should go there. I generally say that you shouldn't commit to a particular stream unless required early on in your education, because after going to the MBA institute, you might actually discover that you're not very interested in a particular stream. So if your MBA institute offers you general management and it's a good general management degree, then do that, because then you have the flexibility to do anything that you want. If you commit early, then you should have a very strong reason for committing early. So if you want to commit to a marketing degree, that is fine, but I would say that keep your options open as much as possible. I have an interest in various topics, things, but don't have a expertise or achievement as such. How can I convey this such that it doesn't become a negative point against me? See, Jatin, what you should essentially do is you need not have a medal in it, or you need not have expertise in it, but if you have read extensively about it, then also it is fine. So for example, if you are interested in, say, the field of psychology, and you have read many books on that, now that is an expertise in itself. Even though you don't have a degree in psychology or a medal on it, even if you are able to carry a conversation on that topic, you should mention it, saying that I'm extremely interested in the field of psychology and I have read extensively about it. It fascinates me. So that is fine. You need not have achievements. This is the interest section as such. So whenever you're mentioning your interest, you can definitely mention that if you have read extensively. See, when you are interested in something, when you are really something is really your hobby, you spend a lot of time reading about that, and that shows, because then you can really talk about it. If it's something that is a passing interest, even if you have a medal for it, for example, I think I played basketball intermittently in school and college, but I'm not really interested in basketball. I can't really hold a conversation about it. So even though I have a certificate for that, I can't really defend it as such. There are many cases where you have a certificate but you can't really defend it because you don't have any real interest in it, and there are many cases when you have a real interest in it but don't have a certificate for it. Talk about your interest even if you don't have certificates. So let's take a look at this particular tell me about yourself. So this person is a BCom graduate. Something that defines me as a person is my never give up attitude. I believe that hard work always pays off and there are no shortcuts to success. I'm currently working as in a startup based on this. Before I worked on this, I worked in a group of companies as a management trainee for a year. Apart from this, I'm also a motivational writer and a host of podcast on LinkedIn. I have close to X followers on the platform. And recently, I've always also started freelancing to help corporates boost their presence online. I felt that this was a very, very good tell me about yourself, because it has a very nice flow to it. This person tells about his academic background, tells about his work background and his interests. This shows, especially his interests, he has actually worked on his interests. So there are a lot of people who just swim on the weekend, but that's not actual work. In this case, this person was interested in something and he pursued it. He has actual things to show that, okay, I did X, Y, Z and I built a following. So when you have pursued your interest, that shows a level of commitment. That is a good thing for a interview as such. So if you have something like this, definitely put, if you have pursued an interest, even if you don't have a medal for it, even if you don't have a distinction for it, if it's a interest that you have pursued and put hours in, talk about it, because it comes across when you talk about something that you are really interested in. I felt this was a very good tell me about yourself. One thing I would actually tell to this person is that when you say that never give up attitude, give an example. So just give 1 or 2 characteristics and bolster with the help of an example. Currently working as this is fine. And this part is a very good hook, and you should be very, very well prepared for talking about this work, because it is so interesting that it jumps out. So whenever there is something in your tell me about yourself which jumps out as distinctive about you, it is a big plus point, because essentially out of curiosity the interviewer is going to ask you about it. There are some interviewers who will be like completely like no, I don't want to talk about that, and they'll start with something which is completely different. But 9 times out of 10 the curiosity will get the better of them and they'll come back to this. So if you have something like this, definitely mention. A lot of students want to keep what is good about themselves or what is special about themselves for like later in the interview, where they'll surprise the interviewer by saying that, you know what, I actually started up, or I actually invented the device. Don't do that. Put that in your tell me about yourself, because you never know whether you will be able to talk about it or not. Your ability to direct an interview is greatest at the start, and after that your ability is completely gone. So if you don't tell what is special about yourself upfront, you might never get to go there again. So always put what is really special about yourself upfront, because that is your best chance to tell what is good about you. Don't leave it for later. I felt this was a very good one, and this is how you should think about that. This is what I have done, this is the work I am doing, and briefly the work I am doing, and this is what interests me, and this is what I am passionate about. This is a fairly good structure to have for tell me about yourself. Now let's take a look at the last tell me about yourself. This is a fairly long one. When you start off, you'll write a fairly long tell me about yourself. Your job would be to then compress into a smooth 100 words tell me about yourself. Okay, while you read it, I'll try to answer a few questions or queries on the chat. My ACADS are this: how to tackle questions regarding poor ACADS. See, in poor ACADS, I'll tell you, so this is something that you have to definitely prepare for. Maruti, I don't know if you guys know that Maruti had slightly weaker undergrad scores. So because of that, he knew that a question was going to come on his undergrad scores. So he prepared extensively for that. And essentially, the thing that you have to indicate is that you take responsibility for your poor ACADS, show that what you did was not right, and you are looking to refocus on academics. So essentially you have to say that I was not mentally mature enough to realize the importance of academics in my undergraduation, but now I realize the opportunity I have lost by not focusing on my technical education. I really feel that I need to focus on laying a strong foundation of education. I want to focus on building a very good foundation of management education. So when you say something like that, where you take responsibility, saying that yeah, what I did was not a mature thing to do. I wish, don't say I wish I could have done something else, but just say take responsibility, saying that that was not right. But I am refocusing, and I am going to take this opportunity for doing an MBA very seriously. So that is basically what you have to do. Don't try to deflect attention by saying that your teachers were bad. Never ever say your teachers were bad, because the person who is interviewing you is also a teacher. So because when you say that, the interviewer is going to get he's going to feel that you're not taking responsibility for your own poor scores. So that is definitely not what you should do. Also, don't say that you are not really interested in the subject, because this might be true that you weren't really interested in engineering. Many people are like forced into engineering or medical stream, and they are not really interested in that, but they are just forced because they are young at that point of time and their parents tell them which stream to pick. But even if that is the case, it shows that you are not taking responsibility for your choices as such. So don't do that. Especially because it makes the interviewer think that, okay, if you don't like MBA, again you are going to slack off during the MBA college, and you're not going to perform well over here also. But if you say that you take responsibility for that and you want to focus and do a very good job at an MBA to compensate for that, it makes them want to give you a chance as such. So you have to be prepared for that kind of a question. So let's take a look at this. Tell me about yourself. My name is Dash. I've recently graduated from Dash College, and where I'm majored in statistics. So again, big hook. If they are a lot of people are interested in statistics, so you should be very well prepared to answer questions on that. So statistics is a big hook. I really like statistics as a subject and how important and practical it is. So then he segues into behavioral economics and decision science, which are basically an intersection of economics and psychology. I write actively about it, host a website which goes by the name of this. In college, while I was decent academically, you don't need to say this. Either you excelled academically or you don't mention how you did. Your academic record is in front of you. I also spent my time doing considerable amount of social service. I volunteered at this NGO, and then he talks about things that he did at the NGO as such. Again, for the past few months, I've been focusing into getting good scores in a management. Again, you don't need to say this. This does not add to your this at all. Okay, because they want students who are able to just pass CAT as if it was not really a big deal at all, and just that's like a hygiene factor for them. So mentioning that you spent a lot of time just passing CAT and not doing anything is not to your advantage. So don't mention that. Just say that you have kept up with your interests as such, and your interests are in basics of financial market and this part. So here I would say that there are two extremely interesting things about you: your interest in economics and psychology, the fact that you not only are interested in it, but you actually host a website on it. So when you bolster an interest with actual work, there is it's like a very strong point to make as such. Another thing that I'll say is that a lot of students have social work that they have done. Before you mention your social work, you should actually say why you were motivated to do that. It was not for a certificate, or it was not because you were forced to do it, but you were actually interested in doing that. So you should always say that I was always keenly aware of the educational opportunities that were not afforded to students from the poorer backgrounds, and I worked on doing that through my social service, where I tried to teach students from the poorer backgrounds in my free time. So I did this work. So you have to also you should give the motivation for social work, and then you should mention your social work. Social work is a very good point, and you should definitely make it, but give your motivation first. And anything which does not really add, for example, I was decent academically, remove. You should try to compress this down. You have a very good tell me about yourself. Now just compress this down into two good clear points. One is your interest in behavioral economics, and the fact that you maintain a website of it. That is an action that you have taken. You have acted on your interest. That is a very, very important thing. Having interest and acting on your interest and putting in regular effort is like a very, very strong indicator of your ability to do things. So definitely mention that, and your social work as well. So basically, whenever you are talking about yourself, mention your interest or characteristic and show concrete examples of the work you have done. Okay, so I've shown some very good examples of, I have had some very good examples of tell me about yourself. So I hope that you guys can take this feedback, even those that I didn't actually review, and try to make the best version of your tell me about yourself. Don't worry that you're boasting about yourself. This is not about boasting. This is about presenting the best version of yourself. So write down your tell me about yourself, write down the 150 words, refine it, keep refining it, practicing it so that it is smooth for you. Practice it by sitting in front of a mirror. Okay, so once you start practicing it, you will get very smooth at it. So this is basically how you should answer tell me about yourself. I hope this was helpful for you guys, and if you guys have any queries, let me know. One last query I'll do before going. So Harsh is asking how to explain 2 years gap, graduated in 2019, no work experience, kindly guide. So Harsh, what did you actually do in that time? Talk about what you did. So if you were working on a particular interest of yours, even if it is not something which is strictly work, that is fine. So for example, if you prepared for UPSC, say that I sat at home and prepared for UPSC, that is fine. Absolutely valid reason to take a break. Whatever you did in your 2 years, own up to it. Okay, don't also very, very important, don't lie in your tell me about yourself. Again, if you took a 2-year gap, you need not actually talk about it into the tell me about yourself. You need not proactively introduce it. If they ask you about it, mention it. Otherwise, let it be. You should be prepared to answer that question, but you should not proactively bring it up. It is not to your advantage. Whatever you did, if whether it is sitting at home and preparing for an exam, or trying out a particular startup that didn't work out, or even if it is due to family reasons, just accept it maturely. Don't lie about it, or don't try to brush it off. Okay, so any maturity is about your honesty and maturity about your past 2 years is what is the least that is expected of you. Okay. So now that you guys know how to phrase your tell me about yourself, now I would expect you to go back and form it for yourself, and please practice on that. Thank you guys for tuning in. So many of you guys tuned in. I'm really, really happy for that. So thank you guys. I hope this was helpful to you. Thank you.